Hello friends, today we are going to study about the fundamental unit of life, chapter of bio in class 9th. So welcome to this module. In this module, we are going to study about what is cell, discoveries of the cell theory, the shape and sizes of the cell, and the different types of cell. So let's start our chapter. Let us start with what is cell. Cell is defined as structural and functional unit of life. This definition you have to learn. Here the two words structural and functional have their own importance. We call it as a structural unit because all the bodies are made up of the basic unit cell. Just like a wall, दीवार, that is made up of a single unit brick या ईंट जिसे हम कहते हैं. Same way, all the cells are made up of, all the bodies are made up of cell, and hence we call it as a structural unit of life. The functional unit. A single cell can perform the life process. It is living, and the life processes performed by that cell are respiration, digestion, and even the basic you can say characteristic of living, that is reproduction. It can divide into two, and that's why we define the cell as structural and functional unit of life. So that is all about the definition. Next we move on to certain facts regarding the discoveries being done in the field of cell. The cell was first of all discovered by Robert Hooke. He actually saw that cell in a cork, or in other words I can say he saw a dead cell. But the term cell was actually coined by Robert Hooke only. But Robert Hooke was able to see that cell only through a microscope which was designed by Leeuwenhoek. He was a Dutch physicist, Antoine Leeuwenhoek. He made that microscope, sent it out to Robert Hooke, and with the help of that microscope, Robert Hooke was able to discover the cell and also coin a term cell. Later on, the nucleus of that cell was discovered by Robert Brown, and there are few others, Purkinje, which you are able to see here on the screen. But they all try to work out certain characteristic of cell, and all the things were then studied and being laid out in cell theory, which was given by Sheldon and Sachwan. Next we are taking up this cell theory. Now before going on to the cell theory, I like you to enjoy this short clip regarding the discovery of microscope and cell.
A fellow Dutchman by the name of Anton van Leeuwenhoek, who heard about these microscope doohickeys, and instead of going out and buying one, he decided to make his own. And it was a strange little contraption indeed, as it looked more like a tiny paddle the size of a sunglass lens. If he had stuck two together, it probably would have made a wicked set of sunglasses that you couldn't see much out of. Anywho, once Leeuwenhoek had his microscope ready, he went to town looking at anything and everything he could with them, including the gunk on his teeth. Yes, you heard right. He actually discovered bacteria by looking at dental scrapings, which, when you keep in mind that people didn't brush their teeth much, if at all, back then, he must have had a lovely bunch of bacteria to look at. When he wrote about his discovery, he didn't call them bacteria as we know them today, but he called them animalcules because they looked like little animals to him. While Leeuwenhoek was staring at his teeth gunk, he was also sending letters to a scientific colleague in England by the name of Robert Hooke. Hooke was a guy who really loved all aspects of science, so he dabbled in a little bit of everything, including physics, chemistry, and biology. Thus it is Hooke who we can thank for the term the cell, as he was looking at a piece of cork under his microscope, and the little chambers he saw reminded him of cells, or the rooms monks slept in their monasteries.
Wasn't it a nice video? Hope you enjoyed it. Now back to the module, the cell theory. As you can see on the screen, there are two photographs of the scientists, Sheldon and Sachuan. They were the one who coined this cell theory. There are three main important points of the cell theory. The first point is that the structural and functional unit of life is cell. That means that this cell, all the different organisms, they are made up of one or more cells. Second point of this says that the cell is the basic unit of structure and organization in organism. And the third says that the new cell arises from the old pre-existing ones, just as you saw here on the screen. Next we move on to the shape and size of the cell. Cells are of varieties of shapes and sizes, from very smaller ones to larger ones. They are either oval in shape, spherical in shape, rectangular in shape, or spindle in shape, and even irregular in shape. The same examples are here on your screen. Then these shapes depend upon the different type of functions where they are present, what type of function a cell is being doing, that also determines its shape. Then we come down to the size. The size of the cell, as I said, it could be microscopic, that means very, very small, to a fairly large ones. The smaller ones, the microscopic, best example from our body is RBCs, and little large ones is your nerve cell. Then these cells, some of the cells like the amoeba on your screen, they are capable of even changing shapes. So we have a variety of cells. Now of the various cells, there are few points which you should know and remember. The largest cell is the ostrich egg. You can see here on the screen. The ostrich egg, and just besides that ostrich egg is the hen's egg. The difference you can see. So the largest cell is ostrich cell, and the smallest cell, it is a microscopic, we call it as PPLO, Pleuro Pneumonia like organism. It's a type of mycoplasmic bacteria. Then if I consider human body, then the largest cell in the human body is the egg or the ovum. And the largest cell in the longest cell, I should say, because there is always a confusion. Somewhere you'll also find that the largest cell is the human nerve cell, but actually the human nerve cell is the longest cell. And the smallest cell in our body is the RBCs, or the red blood cells. Next we move on to the types of cell. Cells on the basis of their origin have been classified into prokaryotic and eukaryotic cell. The prokaryotic cell are also called as primitive cell. That means when the life originated on earth, the first cell, or in other words I can say it's the unicellular organism came into being, and that single cell animals were actually having a prokaryotic type of nature, or those cells were referred to as prokaryotic cells. Nowadays, in the more advanced cells or in the most advanced organisms, the cells which are present are eukaryotic cells. So when we say primitive cell, or even if you heard the term primitive cell, you should understand that we are referring to prokaryotic cell. Now this prokaryotic cell, how it is different from the eukaryotic cell, this is very, very important. First of all, differences in terms of their sizes. Here you can see, I have written it down on the screen, that the size of the prokaryotic cell is 1 to 10 mu m, where mu means micrometers, very, very small. Whereas that of the eukaryotic cell is 5 to 100 micrometers. Prokaryotic cells, they are not well developed, and besides that, the nucleus in that is not prominent, or in other words, we can say that the well developed nucleus is absent in prokaryotes, whereas a well-developed nucleus is present in eukaryotic cell. Then the third difference is regarding their genetic makeup. Prokaryotic is having only single chromosome, whereas eukaryotics are having more than one chromosome. Here I would like to add one more thing, and that is the presence of DNA and RNA. Your chromosomes contain the DNA and RNA. In case of prokaryotes, only RNA is present, whereas in case of eukaryotic, both RNA and DNA are present. Inside the nucleus, which we are going to study in this chapter itself, there is another body which we call it as nucleolus. In case of prokaryotic cell, nucleolus is absent, whereas in case of eukaryotic cell, nucleolus is present. Next comes the difference in terms of their cell organelles. Inside the cell also there are smaller organ-like structures which we call them as organelles. These prominent, well-developed, membrane-bound organelles can be seen only in eukaryotic cell, but prokaryotic cell lack it. Last difference is regarding the division. When the prokaryotic divides, it is only by the simple process of fission. Whereas in case of eukaryotic cell, higher methods of mitotic and meiotic cell division takes place. So altogether there are 6 to 7 differences which you at least should learn when it can be asked anytime. So that was all about in this chapter. Before going on, I like to show you the diagrams of prokaryotic and eukaryotic cell. So my next slide is regarding it. So in this slide, you can see a prokaryotic on the left hand side and eukaryotic on the right hand side. And in the middle, there's just a comparison of the two, which we have already done. So just view it, learn it. You should also know to draw them. That's all. Thanks. My next module is just following it. So have a nice day. Bye-bye.